Welcome to another Perspectives podcast. I'm here in Brazil. So Chase is not here, so it's just me today. And, I'm in Brazil enjoying my time. I was able to go to the Sand here on Saturday, and it was awesome. I'm sure you guys probably saw the news. They had about over 120,000 people that showed up, and it was just a great event. And I knew for me, coming to Brazil meant that I'll be able to also meet a couple friends that I went to school with, and we'll be able to get into all of that. But it's not just me. It's not just me by myself, talking to myself, because obviously you guys don't just want to hear me talking to myself. Maybe you do, I don't know. But we have a very special guest today from the ATL, Miss Nephthaly Leonidas. How are you doing?
Yeah, I am doing well.
You're doing well.
From that sweet Georgia, if you don't know.
Yeah.
Best state in the U.S.
That's very debatable.
Debatable, but Atlanta is an incredible city, and it's a state of its own.
I don't think that's true. Nobody has ever said that. I don't know if there's validity. Anywho, okay.
What's up, guys?
Awesome. Yeah. So Neff, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you from? Where your people from?
Yeah.
And then we'll get into your testimony if you want to share about that, and then we'll just go from there.
For sure. Yeah. So yes, my name is Nephthaly Leonidas, also known as Nephthaly Leonidas in Haitian Creole to all the Haitians out there. Sac passe.
Yeah.
From Atlanta, families from Haiti. I'm the seventh of 9, and so big fit to all the big families out there.
I didn't even know that.
We see you. I love you. There's a special kindred spirit we have when there's big families involved. But yeah, I guess. What else? I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's good. Yeah. So were you born over here?
Yeah, I was born in Atlanta.
Okay.
Cool. Born and raised.
And your family, so you're like first generation over here?
First generation American. 2 older siblings were born to Haiti, and the rest of us were born in the States. We, again, spent most of our life in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And we have the opportunity to go back and do work in Haiti. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah. So we're all over now. I'm still in Atlanta right now, but all my siblings are literally everywhere.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if you could, I guess, tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of your story.
Yeah.
We kind of hear, where your parents from, where you live.
Yeah.
But what has the Lord done in your life in terms of just that salvation story? Because ever since we started doing the podcast, I really feel like a lot of people can relate to our stories. They can really relate to the testimonies that we share. So
for sure,
I always love.
For sure. So of course, grew up 7th of 9, big family, Haitian American, and so there's like 3 things that were important to our family, which was in Haitian Creole is l'église, l'école, la caille, and that is church, school, and home, and so in that order. So I grew up in the church. We always jokingly say I was born on the pew in the pew. Yeah. But that doesn't mean anything. It just meant that I knew church culture really well. So was leading in the youth group, small, like I don't even know, charismatic, really great. They just throw you in leadership. They don't even. You don't even know. They don't act. I mean, not that they didn't ask questions or check in on me, but just finesse. Whatnot. So doing all these things, but just in my heart was just not really living for the Lord. Was just in and out. I was playing basketball.
She can hoop now. Don't get that twisted. She can play.
And I'll just fast forward. So just know that I was not really, I was in the church, but I was just not really living for the Lord, or my heart wasn't given. But so fast forward to my sophomore year of high school, I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. We got in trouble for everything, partying, drinking. Yeah. My mom had started a Friday night prayer meeting, and I got caught. That's when I began to get caught doing everything. That's when everything started to unfold. And I jokingly tell my mom all the time, when you started Friday night prayer, that's when the Lord started to work on my heart. And very purposeful. So by the summer, after going into the summer of my junior year, I'd started a worship, or our small group was doing a worship night that I helped put on. Mind you, I'm not, living this double life, partying, athlete.
Yeah.
My grades are great. I'm in church, hiding everything that was going on quietly, and then leading the small group. And so I was in the corner, they were leading worship, and I went into the corner and I was like, Lord, I can't play this like game anymore. You either make yourself real to me or I'm walking away, I'm never looking back. But I can't play this middle ground. And
this was in high school?
This was in high school, going into my junior year.
Yeah.
And that's when like the weight of the presence of God hit me, and I bawled like a baby. I think I cried. I thought I was there for hours, and I got up and I was only there for 30 minutes, but it's literally the most transformative moment of my life. I was given then. That's when I was just given to the gospel, because I knew the weight of sin that had just fell off my shoulders. I just felt a massive burden just lifted. And then going into my senior year, again, still having all-night prayer meetings, having these crazy encounters with the Lord. My life is just being changed, totally transformed. And my high school team we were really good. We were, if I remember correctly, top 1 or 2 in the state. We were ranked nationally. We're up against some really, really, really great teams in the state of Georgia, but we were a really good team. I was captain and would have been captain, and just really slated to do great things that year. And it was a Friday. We had a meeting right after school, going into the season, and the expectation for us was high. Like, this is going to be a great year.
Yeah.
And had that meeting, and we were so excited, ready to go. And I came home, and it was Friday night prayer, and I was praying, and I was like, God, I want to know you more. I want to know who you are. I want to walk deeply with you. Take me deeper. I want to go there. And I remember the Lord said to me, a climber doesn't go higher with weight on their shoulders, right? Wow. And I was like, for anybody else, that could have meant anything, but I knew it meant for me. And I knew that it meant that I need to walk away from basketball.
Wow. This was
my senior year. Yeah, wow. Right before the season started. It was crazy. Till this day, one of the most profound decisions I've ever made, because it just switched my entire identity. Everything that I thought I was and everything that I was becoming was totally undone, and I was replanting myself in the Lord. And yeah, so that senior year for me was wild. It was crazy. Everybody thought I was crazy. Nobody believed that I was going to stick to my word, and I did. And don't get me wrong, there were many moments where I flip-flopped. I was like, God, I don't know. And nonetheless, the conviction was deep, and it's the one point in my life that I know changed everything. It's why I ended up at Oral Roberts University, where I met this guy, ORU.
Okay.
And yeah, so landed at ORU, and then the rest is kind of history. Just been on this journey with the Lord ever since. But those are the moments that changed everything for me.
No, I feel like that's at such a young age, because I feel like in high school, that's when a lot of people are still trying to figure out who they are, understand themselves, and all that. Yeah. For you to make that kind of decision, I remember one of my friends. He was a really good athlete, and he was just like, you know what, I don't want to play football anymore. And some of the coaches was like, you just threw your life away. That's exactly what they said to me.
Yeah. Wow. They told me I was making the worst decision of my life, and that years later I would have regretted it.
Wow.
For the record, I haven't regretted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you okay, let's go there. I guess that's something that really has to come from you hearing from God to make a decision like that. Yeah. Especially being ranked so high. Yeah. Having so much expectations, not only from the outside, but for yourself as well. Yeah. Because I would imagine you loved playing basketball.
Yeah, I did.
How do you trust that you didn't just, like people like to say sometimes, eat bad pizza and then wake up? How do you trust that, man, that was really the Lord speaking to me?
Yeah.
To make that decision.
Yeah, because it wouldn't have been anything that I would have done on my own. Yeah. You just don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to go to my coaches and tell them that I'm quitting for Jesus.
That's true.
Who does that? God better be speaking. And so I think there are moments where you kind of like, I don't know. And then there's other undeniable moments where you're sitting there and you're just like, I really could not have thought of or done this without divine intervention and divine grace. And the Lord's kindness, and I didn't really realize it was His kindness back then, but I think He spared me from so much, and I think he continues to spare me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would you, or I guess what would you say to some people who are probably in your position? Because all of us at some point, as believers, the Lord speaks to us about certain things. Whether it's giving up or something, stopping something, ending something, or starting something. Right? How do you grow in your walk to where you're like, man, this is really what I feel like the Lord. How do you even begin to hear him like that?
Yeah.
Can you speak towards that?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, it started off with a love encounter, right? We talked about like going into my junior year, having this encounter with the Lord. I fell in love with Jesus.
Yeah.
Like for real. Like my relationship with Jesus was everything. It wasn't just good talk. It was, the Lord was becoming my best friend, right? And that goes deeper more and more with time, because there's seasons where you're like, I don't even know if we're friends right now. But and then there's other seasons you're just like, man, I'm walking hand in hand with God. But it just gets to this place where when I was thinking about life without trusting him, it didn't make sense, right? So I could have continued to play basketball, but that disobedience would have cost me so much. And I felt the weight of that. I felt like it would have been a separation from God. So I think the point of get to the point where you're just like, no, I'm going to do this. It is this lose sight of yourself. I am so in love with you. You're so worth following. It doesn't matter how much it costs me. It is that type of walk, but it starts with love. And I don't think it happens outside of love. I don't think you could just do something without really, really like, man, Lord, I know that you love me, and I know that what you have for me is good. And I think most people don't believe that what he has for us on the other side of our obedience is good. We're just like, there's no way that what you have is better than what I'm tasting. And it is. Whatever you're tasting is not that good compared to what obedience will produce in your life.
Wow. I feel like somehow we always, through the podcast, we always get to this point of obedience. Yeah. Right? Because people making these choices in their lives that are crazy. There's always some form of obedience. Yeah. And I love what you said. What the Lord has for us is always better than what we're currently experiencing in and of ourselves. Yeah. It is. Yeah. It really is. Wow. So, okay, cool. So you end up at Oral Roberts University. I did. You meet a nice guy like myself.
Josue was a trip back then, guys.
That was crazy.
He was something else. Praise God. Praise God, man. He's just grace.
I needed grace. So you end up at ORU, obviously that's a Christian university, right? It is. And there's certain Christian universities that are Christian by title, and there's some that really, really go for it. Yeah. So you coming in, what were some of your expectations? What were some of the things that you saw? If you just want to talk, about the university or just some of your relationships from there.
Man, that's a funny question. Yeah. So I went to ORU because I heard about this place that produces people that are like given to Jesus, right? Like willing to follow God and pursue this call. So I thought, just so you know, not everybody at even great Christian universities are about that life. Okay, like, but so my expectation when I was going there, I really was going because I wanted to meet with the Lord. Like, I gave up everything to follow Jesus. Yeah. So I felt back then. I gave up everything, but I'm gaining everything too. But you don't really recognize the gains quite yet. But yeah, so I kind of give up everything that I thought my life was to follow Jesus. And I'm on this campus. I'm like, Lord, like, you got to lead me. Like, I don't know what I want to do, right? I don't know who I want to become. I don't know anything. Like, all I know is my life drastically changed, and I want to follow you, and I'm given to this gospel, and I'm given to the kingdom. So I get on campus, and I love my floor. I had some of the greatest girls on my floor. They're funny. But at that time, we were in process. Like, and I think I was like, not that I was not better than anybody on my floor, but I was definitely in a different season of life. Meaning, I most of my partying was done my freshman and sophomore year of high school. So I really wasn't partying that much. But I loved the girls on my floor. So I would hang out with them and kind of do whatever they were doing, and just hit a place where just like, man, I can't regress back into that life. Like it's so died to me that that's not who I am. And then my sophomore year, I met some friends that I'm really close to now, the end of my freshman year, but we really jumped into a relationship my sophomore year. Prayer movement, missions, and outreach, and that kind of changed a lot of my experience at ORU. I met my best friends during that period of time, and that does not mean that it was easy, peaches and creams or roses. Like there were some really ugly moments, and just some really broken moments. But I think that's just part of becoming who the Lord calls you to be. You just kind of walk through some ugly things. So met them during that time. ORU was great for the relationships, great for the missions and outreach department, intramurals, where I mostly encountered Josue. At that time, he was a referee.
I was a referee.
And he didn't want me to be great.
No, I didn't.
So I actually didn't finish at Oral Roberts University. I transferred to Georgia State, Hale State, and finished my degree in economics with a minor in Spanish. But that was just the doing of the Lord for where he was calling me. And that was hard too. That was another hard decision. But I think it was important to the journey and the trajectory of the Lord was taking in my life.
I think it's so interesting because those of us that are going or have gone to Christian universities, you kind of have an expectation and you get there. Something you said kind of really stuck to me. You didn't want to regress, right? Because you felt like you made so much progress already. And so you come in with this expectation that, oh man, everyone's going to be like me. In a sense, not that you were looking down on people by any stretch of imagination, but like you're like, oh, I was already kind of done with the party. I'm already kind of done with some of these things. I guess how do you go about what you mentioned? How do you go about like finding that community, whether it's at public school, Christian university, whatever it is, that community of believers, people to kind of help you out in your walk with the Lord? Yeah,
this is probably not popular, and it's definitely not easy, but you got to be okay with being alone for a little bit, right? Like most of the people that are pursuing what you're pursuing are also not in the crowds either, and that's hard because you're just like, man, everybody is doing this, but I am so torn. Like I don't want to go back. So what do I do? And you kind of like stick in this little corner where you're like, I know for me, just to be honest, like people looked at me as like the cool kid, right? Like you're super chill, you're super dope. She was. But I'm also really passionate about the Lord. And so like it was hard because like I'm definitely cool enough, or not, whatever cool means to whoever it means to, like I can be in that circle, but I know the grieving that I was doing, and I didn't want to be there. So I hit this like little spot and cranny where I chose to be alone, so I didn't like regress. And not alone in the sense where I didn't have people around me, because I did, but alone in the fact that I would just go to the prayer tower and start to spend time with the Lord. Like, I would find myself at worship nights, and just trying to be in places where it's just like, man, Lord, you know what? Let me just deepen my friendship and relationship with you. And literally, that's when that community began to form around me because we found each other, right? Like we all realized, oh, you're me. Like, oh, you're in the corner too. Like, and you just build this fantastic relationship. And I'm also learning that the people that you don't think are deeply pursuing the Lord or desire that are. But you just, like it's not popular and it actually really sucks. So to the people out there that are treading that line, I get it. It sucks because it feels good for the moment to be in superficial community, but it doesn't last long.
That's
Yeah.
no, that's really good because
Yeah.
I would remember certain kids in my mind, anyways, where I thought, man, those kids have the relationship with the Lord. Like,
Yeah.
it's looking good. But I knew when I was in college, not that I didn't believe in God or anything like that, but at the same time, I still wanted to have fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so maybe being in a crowd with someone like me was probably not the most ideal thing. Because like you said, your mind was set on other things.
Yeah.
Right? And so I mean, that's awesome because I feel like a lot of people can really relate to that.
Yeah, no shade to the guys like Josue.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
No shade to y'all.
Because look at us.
Look.
Yeah.
there was love.
Redemption.
There's process. There's journey.
There really is.
There is.
And I feel like that's really what we kind of take away because our stories were different.
Yeah.
Especially in college, because back then my mind wasn't on the Lord like it is now.
Yeah.
Right. And it could have been easy for maybe someone in your shoes to look at me and just write me off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then 5-6 years later, look where we both are right now.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the awesome thing about God, that He teaches us not just to look down on people or to judge people too soon before
time.
Done.
Yeah, certainly. And that's probably like another unique thing about this walk with the Lord is even though like I was in a different space, like I had to learn that I was no better than anybody else, right?
Yeah.
And that's a forever journey. Like it's forever moments of saying like you may be in a different season of life, but there's grace for you.
For sure.
Right? There's mercy right where you're standing. And even though I can't participate in some of the things that you're doing, or the Lord is calling me to something else, or like, like I'm not saying that I'm better than you in that, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm saying that I can't walk there, but I love you.
Yeah.
And so there's, even for believers, those of us who are on the other side, just learning to have grace for people and to say, man, I love you enough to sit in the tension and journey this out with you. Yeah.
I know, or you have such a big, you mentioned earlier, outreach and missions culture.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people really love that about the school. So is that kind of when you got started in terms of going on missions or doing outreach?
Yeah, great questions.
Yeah.
So again, I held the great state of Georgia, Atlanta, Decatur, where it's greater.
Shout out.
So being the seventh of 9 children, I think there's just an intrinsic value and a first generation American, intrinsic value that I believe was instilled in me for service and serving the community. So from young, was always in the community serving anywhere that I could. It was when you come from humble beginnings, it's really hard not to be about the community because you know if it was not for grace and the Lord carrying. I have stories of the way the Lord showed up for my family, and when we were in need. And so I think there's always that intrinsic value that was in me, was already like mentoring in the community, all these things, especially serving in church. By the time I got to ORU, it was already something that I knew that I wanted to pursue. So it was in the outreach department and Dream Center, all these different outreaches, Salvation Army,
Boys and Girls Club.
Listen, there's and then we had our missions trips, but I think it solidified in me that this is who I am, right? That department was like with Bobby Parks, if you know Bobby.
Bobby's awesome.
Great leader, great guy. So grateful he was leading during my time there. But just like instilled some really deep values of service and commitment to the community and commitment to the kingdom, and to loving people. And so that definitely continued and was solidified at ORU.
Do you think you could, like you mentioned, like your family, being from Haiti, obviously I know this, but I still gotta ask the question.
Yeah.
Is there a way your family, you are, because we know Haiti, there's just a lot of things that's happened there. Our hearts always go out. Obviously you do, and I don't even know why I asked the question. At this point, don't worry about it. We'll leave it in there. I know your family serves. So could you kind of speak about that, how that came about, what you guys do over there and all that?
Yeah, certainly. So it's 2016. I mean, my mom, my siblings, we've gone back and forth to Haiti for years. Mom was always doing clinics back in the mountains where she was from. But this particular year, 2016, it was July, August, we went to, I went with my mom, was there for like a month. And we were just serving in hosting medical dental clinics in Kasud in the mountains where she's from, and then Jeremy, where my father's from. And just when we came back, just knew that this is something that we as a family needed to commit to serving the people of Haiti. That's when we started the initiative Moving Haiti Forward. You can find out more at movinghaitiforward.com.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in the end of 2016, my mom decided to retire early. I personally was working for Apple, and I quit working for Apple and just took that year and just really went after missions and helping establish some of the work we were doing in Haiti. So what we do there is we hold medical and dental clinics in rural Haiti, in hopes of expanding to other areas, but we're establishing a permanent structure and going after that. But just as in any third world country, access to any medical or dental, it's just hard. It's like in that area, walking, it's like 3 hours, right? And if you live further out, it's 5. And so if there's an emergency, there's not much that can be done, unfortunately. And we've had some really hard and sad moments of people passing away from simple things such as fevers, just because they didn't have access. So that's what we do, and we're committed to that. We're committed to the kingdom. We're committed to advancing the gospel, but also to serving these people in a practical way. Yeah, and just being Jesus in terms of medical missions. Yeah.
How do you, I guess, you kind of growing up in ATL, as we all know, obviously, going to Haiti and serving and doing different things like that, like when you come back or while you're there, like what's going on through your mind? Because living in America, you see, I guess you could call it abundance, if that's the word we want to use. You can see the abundance, and then you go over here where you said something as someone dying from a fever, for example. Like, how do you, as a person, how do you kind of deal with that reality of, man?
Yeah, great. These are great questions. I know I think this is a part that people don't talk about when serving the Lord in the international space mission, specifically, holistically, right? Not just talking about like going to preach, but actually like the hard work. And I'm not saying neither one is like right harder or not harder, but I'm just in terms of like medical, dental, and then coupling that with the gospel. But the part that they don't talk about is like the depression sometimes, or the deep sadness that you experience, and the hopelessness, right? At times, like you carry the hope of glory, but you feel really hopeless at times. And that's when you learn how strong compassion is, right? Compassion is not for the weak or faint of heart. It takes a lot of strength to be able to stand there and say, Jesus, you're good, even when I don't understand. And I think mostly you just wrestle through a lot of asking God, like, how do I handle this? How do I process your goodness with this? And I don't know that there's any right answer to that. I just think you take it to him. I think most of us wrestle with these things apart from God and apart from community, right? We have a sentiment, God's supposed to be good, but this is the evil that I'm seeing. God's supposed to be good, but this is the pain I'm experiencing. God's supposed to be good, but here I am in offense and disappointment. And we wrestle with that apart from God and apart from community. And I think what goes through my mind in those moments is whenever I experience those moments of pain, to wrestle with God, wrestle with community, and return back to the same conclusion. He's still good, and we're going to keep doing this work because it's making a difference, whether it's easy or not.
I feel like thank you for that answer. First of all, I feel like that was the first time we've kind of address that.
Yeah.
You know, because it's real. You know,
Yeah.
we went to as an organization, we partnered with West End Church over there in Dallas, and they do a homeless ministry on Wednesdays and Sunday morning. And I remember the last time I was there just serving, I was just thinking to myself, God, like, what in the world do I have to give?
Yeah.
You know, kind of like what you're talking about, dealing with that.
Yeah.
We have that hope in us, but visually all we can see is like hopelessness.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a lot of, I guess, you're just looking at like, man, God, what is this?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
those are some of the tough questions we wrestle with.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I would imagine even going to, you know, serving in that kind of community and just being there thinking like, wow.
Yeah.
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 No, first of all, I love the fact that you said not just dealing with those thoughts on your own, but really bringing it to God.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of times we just like to, or some people will just play it all in their minds, and that's kind of where it stays.
Right.
But when you bring it to the Lord, you receive comfort and wisdom and just different things like that. So I love that you brought that up. So how do you kind of, I guess, go back to your quote-unquote norm back
In Atlanta.
in the States and then to where you're in a different world, I guess you could say.
Yeah. If I'm, and it's funny because I'm processing now, but, and I've done a good job of processing it now, but I didn't realize how stuck I was until like I broke down, right? Like I had, I broke down. But I didn't.
Wait, what do you mean by stuck?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, So what I mean by that is you experience all these things and you just set it aside and you come back. Like you don't fully, I wasn't fully processing everything I was experiencing. I just put it on a shelf and I came back. Or I tried to come back. But truth to be told, and something that I had to realize is you don't come back the same. And you stop trying to, right? I tried to like come back the same person every time. Like come back just jump back into normal life. But and I'm going to explain this a little more. I know that to answer your question, when I come back from those moments, my emotions had really shut down, right? I learned to be less emotional or even process the things that I was experiencing. Like I rarely talked about my trips. People knew what I was doing, but I just didn't. It's not something that I talked about a lot. I talked about the great work that we would do, or I let people know. I was never shy about it, but I just didn't process. Like people was like, how'd the trip go? It was great. And that was like, that was it. And it wasn't because I wasn't trying to. It was more like, how do I process all that I'm experiencing? How do I sift through my own emotions? How do I take on and fully embrace this call to be in Haiti and in the States at the same time, experiencing two different extremes all the time. And so this was last year, actually, the summer of last year, and then so much had compounded, and finally, like, I just broke down, and the Lord finally could deal with the parts of me that I had hid from Him, and pulled back on. Like, I was disappointed, I was angry, and that's what I'm telling you. Like, it's impossible to deal with these things apart from God and apart from community. You will end up walking away from the Lord because you cannot believe that He's still good, and He is.
That's real.
I think for anybody going forward, and the wisdom that I would give to that is to process it with God and in community, is to say this is really hard, to that you don't know how to juggle it all. I'm good at saying that, I'm good, and not going anywhere else about it, but starting to be really honest about, hey, I'm going to be good, I'm going to be okay, but I need you to know that this is really hard for me. And so, I mean, I don't know that there's even a right or wrong way to come back and go back and forth all the time. I think the best thing to do is to fully immerse yourself in who God is and who He says you are, and to love Him and embrace Him and to hold tight to Jesus and this glorious gospel, and to not try and be anything except for what he's asking you to be at all times. And that sounds ridiculous, but the truth is when you go to another country, you feel like you got to be this way, and then when you come back, you feel like you have to turn that off. And I'm saying don't turn it off. I'm saying fully talk about what it is that you're experiencing, and fully embrace the tension of that and the difficulty, and remind yourself that God is good.
I feel like that's something Chase and I, and others, we've tried to kind of discuss in terms of, coming back to the States or wherever, you were previously, and just really dealing with some of the truths.
Yeah.
We did a podcast, I believe it was with Sydney, and she said this was when she was 18. They went to, I want to say Thailand, please excuse me if I'm wrong, and they were in some brothel areas, and 18-year-old kind of seeing that side of the world.
Yeah.
How do you come back and process all that?
Yeah.
And like you said, sometimes it's a struggle. How is God good?
Yeah.
And this is going on.
Yeah.
These parts of the world, and so just thank you for your vulnerability. In terms of like sometimes you just say I'm okay, but you're really dealing with all the emotions still. And obviously now it sounds like you're at a better place in terms of like dealing with it.
Oh yeah.
In terms of processing it, bringing it to the Lord, and really allowing Him to kind of just speak to you. And I love the fact that you also said it takes that community.
Yeah.
Instead of you just kind of isolating yourself.
Yeah.
It takes that community to be with you and walk with you through these moments. Yeah. Whenever you come back, so that's
it's huge. Awesome. Yeah. It's huge. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So have you? So has Haiti been the place where you've kind of mostly gone to, or the other places?
Yeah. Haiti's been predominantly the place I've been in and out of, but was in Mozambique for some months, and then Brazil for a few weeks, but Haiti predominantly. Yeah, and those places are just as beautiful. I mean, encountered the Lord, met with Jesus. He spoke some strong words over my life. And let me just say this to you, anybody that is feeling the call to the missions world. There's no greater yes, right? Anything you do to any believer, not even if it's just a missions life, anything you do that the Lord is asking you to do will have moments of really high highs and really low lows. And what I'm learning is that the lows, literally, they never compare to the fulfillment of God's promises in your life. It doesn't match. It does not compare. And so, I'm being really honest about the difficulty, and I'm sure if I've had some of my other friends, they can attest more to just some of the pain and heartache that there is in the mission field, or even following God's call for your life. But let me just say to you, there's no greater yes that you can ever give than to say yes to Jesus. You will regret if you didn't. And so it's hard for certain, but it's 1,000% worth it. Jesus is always worth it. I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, it's good. That was good.
Just wanted to say that. But yes, I've been to other countries, and I could say that what is most transformative about my time there, yes, it's the way that Jesus encountered me, but the permission He's also just given me to clarify or be myself and clarifying who He's called me to be. So the nations are beautiful. Yeah, I love that. I love countries.
I know you mentioned like some of the highs that you kind of get, and that's just me. I love stories. Yeah, and I know people love stories. If you could just share something that happened, whether it was in Mozambique, in Brazil, in Haiti, one of those God encounters with somebody, and you were just like, wow.
Yeah. Honestly, my favorite story about Haiti would probably be like the children and the kids in the mountains. For me, it's not like one moment. Yeah, I could talk about the nights we preached the gospel and salvations, and like just the worship nights we had and how powerful those were, and all these things. And of course, holding medical and dental clinics. I mean, we're always saving somebody's life every time. Like every time we go, there's somebody that we came right on time. Yeah. I mean, without fail, God's grace. Like, I remember one time we were supposed to go in June, and the Lord pushed back the date, or we're supposed to go May or April. The Lord pushed back the day. We ended up going in July. If we would have went in, so there's a particular guy, he cut his finger in June. So between the months, so if we would have went in April, we would have missed him because we weren't going to go back till December. But for some reason, all the doors shut and we had to go in July. So we get there, and when he comes to us, the infection was spreading throughout his body, meaning that small cut went undealt with was causing his blood pressure to spike. Wow. And literally the doctors are like, if we don't get him to the nearest hospital right now, like, we do not know if he's going to make it by the end of the day. Like, and so, like, having these moments where the Lord just drastically shifts our timeline and directions. I could talk about all those moments, but I think what has been beautiful for me about Haiti, the relationships that I built with those children and those guys in the mountain, just seeing them grow up, teaching them about walking with Jesus, and seeing their passion and joy every time we come. Like, I mean, gosh, like that taking walks with, I mean, I don't even know. Yeah. For me, it's relational. Yeah. Relationally, it's been the most powerful thing, and they've changed. They've changed my life.
I wish you guys could see, like, the smile she has on her face right now when talking about these stories. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you for making the time.
Yeah.
To get on the podcast with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for speaking into our lives.
Yeah.
Thank you for encouraging those that were in your situation, my situation, and thank you just for giving people a heart to do missions, whether it's in your own backyard, overseas, or wherever else it might be. Any last words? It doesn't have to be about missions. It can be about relationship with God. Yeah. It can be about, I don't know, sisterhood. I don't care. Any last words that you can share to just encourage?
Any last words of encouragement?
Yeah.
Time. I think we get caught up in the idea that if God didn't do it when I thought he would, he's not going to do it at all. I am so grateful for the things the Lord made me say no to because I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that he worked on me in the hidden place. So to those of you that are, like, just still you feel like you're just hidden, man, like, cherish that. Soak in it. Jesus is good right there, and he is perfecting all that is concerning you. So yeah, stay right there. Don't move. Don't try and go before the Lord. Yeah. Just go in stride with him, because he's got you. That'll be my last words. Yeah.
Well, thanks again. So big thanks to Neph. Thank you so much for agreeing and just spend some of your time in Brazil talking about these things. We really appreciate it. And like I mentioned earlier, we'll be able to put all the information for the organization as well as your info for others to be able to get connected with you.
Certainly.
And also partner with the organization with everything that the Lord is doing through you guys in Haiti. Yeah. That's going to be awesome. And as well, if you would like to support our work and mission here at Perspective and would like a tax write-off, our website will also be included. You can go there and make a small donation and just keep our organization in prayers, and keep enjoying the podcast. And as always, if you like this week's episode, please comment, share, and subscribe. Much love. God bless.